technology always poses its own set of challenges also. So while we wait to watch the video, I would now request Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, to kindly deliver his keynote address. Thank you so much, sir.
Respected Advisor to LG, Financial Commissioner and Additional Chief Secretary, Agriculture Production Department, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Additional Chief Secretary, Finance Department, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of IT, Government of Haryana, Secretary, Department of IT, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Commissioner, Srinagar Municipal Corporation, all the distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to present here today in this important. Hello. This is focused on the theme of digital transformation. Several things come to mind when we talk about how technology and particularly digital can transform the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with others, the way government delivers services, the way industry can develop. There are a whole host of issues. I think many of you would remember the first time when the country had implemented a very large project and which had very significant impact on the way citizens obtain services. This was the railway computerization way back in late 80s or mid 80s, where I remember when I used to travel from Kanpur to my hometown Patna. For the first time, I think in 87, 88, we could, when we went to the railway station to buy ticket, we could see some computers in the front and they would enter the name, etc. on the keyboard, and you would get a computerized printout of your ticket. And before that, when you used to travel, when you go to the station, you would face a person with a big manual register. He would open and then he would search whether there is a berth available, and then you would pay in cash, and then queue was another problem. So all that is now a matter of the past. Today, after almost 3.5 decades, as a country we can boast of some of the world's largest digital platforms. So we have created the Athar platform, of which we can really be proud of. There is nothing like this in the entire world. Real-time identity authentication for all applications, for all citizens. We have the world's largest payment interface, the UPI. Again, no parallel anywhere else. We have the world's largest automated goods and services tax network. Again, a unique achievement. All other nations, they can just aspire to what we have achieved. We have the world's largest vaccine platform, CoWIN. Again, others only just aspire to it. Even my colleagues or friends abroad, I mean, they can just think of what we have achieved. And they're just trying to struggle even now to build such a platform. So there are a number of such areas where we can justifiably proud of the transformation that we have achieved as a country through digital interventions. In fact, though those of you who have watched the budget of this year closely, digital word appears the maximum number of times in the budget document, budget 2022. So that shows the power of digital and how digital can really be used to transform almost everything that we do, whether it is governance, whether it is economy, whether it is the way we live, whether it is our personal lives, professional lives. Just a few years ago, we couldn't even think of working from home. But today, we actually have achieved something very remarkable. And almost, I mean, a huge number of people in the private sector and even in the government, when there was lockdown and all, we all used to work from home. So what has enabled all this to happen? In Government of India, we have the e-office. So as soon as the pandemic struck, even before that, we were in e-office and it was all automated. But then this adoption has got further acceleration as a result of the pandemic. And this phenomenon of adoption of digital at a much higher level that we can now see all around us. And this new normal of more and more adoption of digital is perhaps going to stay with us for a number of years to come. And what has enabled all this to happen? Today, if you see India, we have a mobile phone in almost everyone's hands. About 60 crore or even more are smartphones. We have 83 crore people on the internet. We have a bank account for everyone. Again, a remarkable achievement given the overall level of development that we are at in terms of our per capita income or GDP. So this revolution has been enabled by these factors and by the fact that we have built world-class digital platforms in almost all.
I'll also request Faimullah, co-founder, GovConnect, to also present a small gesture of gratitude, acknowledgement, and extend welcome also. So, I'll request our guest of honor, Shri Atal Dulloo, IAS, Financial Commissioner, Additional Chief Secretary, Agriculture Production Department, UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, welcome you. Thank you. I now welcome Shri Vivek Bhardwaj, IAS, Financial Commissioner, Additional Chief Secretary, Finance Department, UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, I welcome you. I now welcome Shri Anil Malik, IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Haryana. Thank you so much and welcome you. I welcome our next guest, Dr. Rajendra Kumar, IAS, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MeitY, Government of India. Thank you, sir, for joining us from Delhi. I would also request Sri Athar Amir Khan, IAS, Commissioner, Srinagar Municipal Corporation and CEO, Srinagar Smart City Limited, UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Before we begin the formal deliberations, I would request all our guests, and I would also request Ms. Puri to join the guests in our ceremonial lighting of the diyas, lighting of the lamp. Can I request all our guests to join in?
मंदिर साहब थोड़ा साइड पर तनवीर आई की साइड पे ठीक ठीक
So with this, आज के दिन का आगाज हम शुरू करते हैं. Thank you so much, all of you, and thanks to all our guests. Now, I'll request Ms. Prerna Puri, Secretary Department of Information Technology, CEO, Jammu and Kashmir eGovernance Agency, to kindly join me and welcome the guests and give her introductory address. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very to the 6th Digital Transformation Conclave in the Venice of the East, the beautiful city of Srinagar, and at this majestic and very picturesque venue of SKICC, which is the Sher-e-Kashmir International Convention Center. We are deeply honored and privileged to have in our midst as chief guest Rajiv Bhatnagar sir, advisor to the Honorable LG. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing the occasion with your presence. We are privileged to have with us Shri Atal Dulloo, Additional Chief Secretary, Agriculture Production Department. Sir is credited with increasing IT use for bringing transparency and accountability across various departments in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, particularly with the budget estimation, allocation, and monitoring system in the Finance Department. We are honored to have with us Shri Vivek Bhardwaj, Additional Chief Secretary, Finance, Industries and Commerce. Sir has spearheaded a number of pioneering IT initiatives, including those for school children and CAD skills for handloom workers. Thank you, sir, for your presence here. We are delighted to have with us Shri Anil Malik, IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Information Technology, Government of Haryana, who is the person behind the path-breaking IT initiatives in the state of Haryana. It is an honor to have in our midst Dr. Rajendra Kumar, IAS, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. Sir is the main architect of the Digital India program and the driving force behind all the IT initiatives of Government of India. Thank you, sir, for coming all the way from Delhi for gracing this occasion. Last but not the least on the dais, my colleague Athar Amir Khan, who is the Commissioner of the Srinagar Municipal Corporation and the person who is driving the urban development vision of Smart City Srinagar. Thank you all. And once again, I would like to accord a very warm welcome to all senior officers, officials, policymakers, planners, friends from the media, academia, industry stakeholders, and all of you present here, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this conclave. The theme of today's conclave is digital transformation, which is the biggest buzzword. It is at the heart of good governance. And now, digital is not a choice. It is something that we have to do by default. All of us have to turn digital by default. Not so long ago, digital was siloed as something which was squarely within the remit of either a chief information officer or a chief technology officer. Not so today. Particularly on account of the pandemic, we have all realized that it is technology which helped us to navigate the pandemic. The digital transformation agenda accelerated during the pandemic and has achieved remarkable milestones. Whether it is online education when children were forced to stay at home and attend online classes in virtual classrooms, or is it the case of remote working when all of us increasingly uptook to e-office and there was a large demand for VC solutions because all our meetings were happening online. Or so the case with medical science and education where all the OPD consultations happened through telemedicine, or the increasing market for e-commerce. Technology has had an all overarching impact on all our lives, and it has impacted the way we think, live, work, and connect. It would not be incorrect to say that technology is something not that we are using, we are living technology. Particularly with the tremendous growth in cloud infrastructure and the startup setup that we have in India today, India having the third largest startup sector in the world, with so many unicorns coming up every. It is not only the ease of use of technology, it is also the perceived ease of use. What is technology to me should be something which should make my life convenient and should add some value to my life in terms of the service being provided. And it is this people's first approach that either way the industry, the stakeholders, and the government has to together look at. And the sessions in today, we have a long day, we have a packed house, and we have a full packed day with sessions which are very meaningful. aiming at looking at various ways of realigning government services vis-a-vis digital transformation, looking at emerging technologies like AI, big data, data analytics, or blockchain, and looking at IT in healthcare systems, as well as IoT as the basis for smart city. So I sincerely hope that we have a lot of meaningful deliberations and discussions wherein we look at technology as an enabler, as a leveler, as something which will bridge the digital divide, and as something which will empower people. In the end, I would just like to conclude with a quote that I read somewhere, that digital technology and transformation, if done right, can turn a caterpillar into a butterfly. But in case it goes wrong, it will be only a very fast caterpillar. So I just hope that we look at Omni services providing seamless experience to all citizens and work towards the aim and vision of Digital India, which our Honorable Prime Minister has set out for us. And I would just like to conclude with a visual snapshot of some of the IT initiatives that we have taken in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you so much.
Technology always poses its own set of challenges also. So while we wait to watch the video, I would now request Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, to kindly deliver his keynote address. Thank you so much, sir.
Respected Advisor to LG, Financial Commissioner and Additional Chief Secretary, Agriculture Production Department, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Additional Chief Secretary, Finance Department, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of IT, Government of Haryana, Secretary, Department of IT, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Commissioner, Srinagar Municipal Corporation, all the distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to present here today in this important. Hello. This is focused on the theme of digital transformation. Several things come to mind when we talk about how technology and particularly digital can transform the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with others, the way government delivers services, the way industry can develop. There are a whole host of issues. I think many of you would remember the first time when the country had implemented a very large project and which had very significant impact on the way citizens obtain services. This was the railway computerization way back in late 80s or mid 80s, where I remember when I used to travel from Kanpur to my hometown Patna. For the first time, I think in 87, 88, we could, when we went to the railway station to buy ticket, we could see some computers in the front and they would enter the name, etc. on the keyboard, and you would get a computerized printout of your ticket. And before that, when you used to travel, when you go to the station, you would face a person with a big manual register. He would open and then he would search whether there is a berth available, and then you would pay in cash, and then queue was another problem. So all that is now a matter of the past. Today, after almost 3.5 decades, as a country, we can boast of some of the world's largest digital platforms. So we have created the Athar platform, of which we can really be proud of. There is nothing like this in the entire world. Real-time identity authentication for all applications, for all citizens. We have the world's largest payment interface, the UPI. Again, no parallel anywhere else. We have the world's largest automated goods and services tax network. Again, a unique achievement. All other nations, they can just aspire to what we have achieved. We have the world's largest vaccine platform, CoWIN. Again, others only just aspire to it. Even my colleagues or friends abroad, I mean, they can just think of what we have achieved. And they're just trying to struggle even now to build such a platform. So there are a number of such areas where we can justifiably proud of the transformation that we have achieved as a country through digital interventions. In fact, those of you who have watched the budget of this year closely, digital word appears the maximum number of times in the budget document, budget 2022. So that shows the power of digital and how digital can really be used to transform almost everything that we do, whether it is governance, whether it is economy, whether it is the way we live, whether it is our personal lives, professional lives. Just a few years ago, we couldn't even think of working from home. But today, we actually have achieved something very remarkable. And almost, I mean, a huge number of people in the private sector and even in the government, when there was lockdown and all, we all used to work from home. So what has enabled all this to happen? In Government of India, we have the e-office. So as soon as the pandemic struck, even before that, we were in e-office and it was all automated. But then this adoption has got further acceleration as a result of the pandemic. And this phenomenon of adoption of digital at a much higher level that we can now see all around us. And this new normal of more and more adoption of digital is perhaps going to stay with us for a number of years to come. And what has enabled all this to happen? Today, if you see India, we have a mobile phone in almost everyone's hands. About 60 crore or even more are smartphones. We have 83 crore people on the internet. We have a bank account for everyone. Again, a remarkable achievement given the overall level of development that we are at in terms of our per capita income or GDP. So this revolution has been enabled by these factors and by the fact that we have built world domains. Class digital platforms in almost all, transforming their schemes, transforming their activities. So what is next when we talk about digital transformation? So what is next vision that we have? So let me talk about that for a few minutes, because that will set out why we think digital is the main instrument to really transform our country in various domains and how this can be achieved. Already India is a world leader in several sectors in the IT domain. IT, ITS, we are justifiably the world leader. In terms of digital infra, now we hope to leapfrog where every Indian, everyone will be connected through quality connectivity, right at the village level. We now have covered a large number of them, but not all. And of course, mobile has taken the lead in terms of connecting all the people. But this has to be taken to the next level. In 2019, MeitY unveiled the $1 trillion digital opportunity vision. So the vision is that in the next 4 to 5 years, by 2025-26, we should we should strive to achieve the vision of taking our digital economy to the level of $1 trillion, which would be 20% of the then GDP of 5 trillion. At present, it is about roughly 350 billion dollars. So that means that it has to be taken to the level of 3x at the minimum in the next 4 to 5 years. So how that is going to happen? So there are some key components of this vision which I would just briefly spell out so that we can be clear as to how at the national level we plan to achieve this transformation through digital interventions. So the first pillar of this vision of $1 trillion digital economy is to ensure that we provide digital infrastructure to everyone in the country without exception. It's a very inclusive vision where we want to connect each and every person in our country. So BharatNet is going to get expanded to all these 6.5 lakh villages as our Honorable Prime Minister announced from the current target of 2.5 lakh panchayats. Of course, in terms of service delivery, we hope to expand our common service center network to all the 6.5 lakh villages as well. Currently, it covers about 4.7 lakh villages. Then, in terms of mobile, we have the upcoming 5G and advanced mobile connectivity, which hopefully will provide high-speed broadband access to everyone. So this is the first element of this entire vision and the roadmap. The second, which is very important from the point of view of how we would like the government departments and the states to really respond and take steps in this direction, is to build public digital platforms. I mentioned about some of them, but those are cross-cutting platforms which are actually building blocks for the domain level applications that we are now attempting at. So one example of this is the health domain where the National Digital Health Mission has been launched. All of you, I'm sure, are aware, where the idea is to bring the entire healthcare sector onto an online digital interface, common interface, where everyone, all citizens, through a common Ayushman Bharat health account number, that's the new name, ABHA. So through this account, you would be able to access all the healthcare services, both from the private and public sectors, discover, hopefully, the quality and the prices. All the insurance companies are also going to be onboarded, all the institutions. So this is going to really transform the way we perceive the delivery of healthcare services. It's already having a large impact on the healthcare domain. MeitY has developed the Arogya Setu app, which I'm sure you're aware, this was earlier meant for contact tracing during the COVID pandemic, but now it is also the health app for the new NDHM, the National Digital Health Mission. So if you download this app, using this app, you can create your health account, the Aadhaar number, and that would be the gateway to obtaining all the healthcare services. You can prepare or you can build your own longitudinal health record. So any health episode where treatment is given or lab tests are done or any other intervention there, that all will be under your control. And you can download all these records into your DigiLocker account. DigiLocker, by the way, is another major initiative of MeitY where all the records, all the documents that you have, all the service that you get from different departments, all you can collect and aggregate at one place using your Aadhaar linked DigiLocker account. So this is also going to be used for the health sector. And this is one domain where we feel that building a large public digital platform is going to really change the way we perceive government services and the way they are delivered. Similar efforts underway in education, in agriculture, in logistics, where the PM Gati Shakti program has been launched, perhaps the largest logistics transformation is going to take place now using GIS linked platform. So this is the second component of this vision. The third component, which is again very important, where again we would request all the states to really take initiatives, is in the domain of emerging technologies. You heard the IT secretary talk about AI, ML, etc. So let me not bore you with those buzzwords. But the idea is that we need to really develop our capabilities in these emerging technologies and ensure that they can be meaningfully deployed in the domains where we think we can create maximum impact. I'll just give you a few examples. For the Arogya Setu app and for now a number of other applications, we have developed AI-based chatbots which are intelligent. So they are replacing the need for one-to-one or manual interaction with government departments to provide information to citizens for various services or various other things. So this is just one example of how the emerging technologies can really help the departments to transform the way they deliver services to the citizens. So this is another major domain, and our initiatives in this domain include setting up 25 centers of excellence, all in different areas: AI, ML, automotive technologies, AR, VR, IoT, 5G, all across the country. They have been set up with the collaboration of the industry and the concerned state government. These are coming up very well, and I'm happy to inform you that a number of startups from these centers have gone on to really become big in their domain. They have raised funding from outside sources, and they are really on the way to become unicorns. MeitY also has set up the MeitY Startup Hub, which currently supports more than 3,000 startups in all tech-focused domains. We are not into non-tech areas, but all domains where technology is being used to transform their businesses or think of new ways to really deliver a product or a service. All those are part of that ecosystem. So this is another major area where we need to really make efforts to ensure that we can use digital, the power of digital, to transform our governance and our economy. The fourth component of this vision, which I just mentioned, of the 1 trillion digital economy by 25-26, is to focus on capacity building and skilling. This is a major area where we need to really put our efforts together. Currently, the IT sector's growth rate has really jumped, and there's a huge demand for professionals in almost all domains of IT. And that's one area where we have to put very large systematic efforts. MeitY has launched programs like Future Skills Prime, which actually aim at addressing this gap. But obviously, any effort probably is not sufficient at this point of time in this domain. So all the state governments also, we would request them to really focus on skilling and capacity building, both in the government, that is for government employees, and for our young people, so that they can get trained in these high skill areas and get good jobs in their domain. So that's another major area where we are focusing. Our target is to really take this capacity building and the number of high skilled professionals to at least 1 crore. Currently we have 50 lakh as per the figures of the industry. This should reach at least 2 times in the next 4 to 5 years. And if a state government chip in, the number could be even higher, and that actually would be beneficial to our industry and to our growth. The last area, but not the least, where we think the programs that we are running and where state governments can really bring their own initiatives is in the domain of cyber security. And I will also talk about the IT Act and the laws, which are very important now from the point of view of achieving the next level of the vision that we have for the next 4 to 5 years. So cyber security I mentioned because that's a very important area where, as a result of the pandemic or during the last 2-3 years, we have seen the attacks on our IT infra increasing. Obviously from the sources which are hostile to the nation as a whole. So this has to really be addressed at a IT infra applications from any kind of malicious attempts to break into or steal data or cause damage. MeitY has taken a number of steps, and as a result of those steps, in the rankings that were done by UN last year in 2021, it was for 2020, we were ranked 10th in the world out of 190 plus nations for the first time. There is one ranking internationally where India is in top 10, and this is in cybersecurity. And this ranking jumped from 47 the year before to 10, so rise of 37 places. So that's no mean achievement. But the point is that we need to really make continuous efforts to ensure that our IT infra is kept secure. We are not only reacting to the attempts at break-in or cause damage, but we are proactive in detecting and neutralizing what is coming in the cyberspace. So we need to work with all the states. We have been requesting the state governments to really ensure that they can put a cybersecurity team together so that they can work at systemic level by analyzing all the components of IT infra, all the applications, and secure them. Let me also talk about the IT laws, which, as you may be aware, IT Act is of 2000 vintage, is 22 years, so that the amendments also are a key part of our vision. Last year we came out with IT rules 2021, which actually aim at addressing the issues that people face in the domain of cyberspace, especially with regard to the use of social media platforms, where we have tried to address the remedies arising out of the possible user harms or attacks on the individual in the cyberspace, harassment of women, etc. So all those have been addressed holistically in that IT rules last year, and there is a grievance mechanism which is required to be set up by all the significant social media intermediaries which are defined in the IT rules. So as a result of these rules, now there is much more awareness amongst the people. They are now lodging grievances with the platforms grievance mechanism, and of course there is another process if it doesn't get addressed then. So the point is that we also need to ensure that our rules and our legal framework is in tune with the modern times. We also have the Personal Data Protection Bill, which I think you may be aware, which is at the advanced stage. So that will hopefully address the issues with regard to the data protection in the cyberspace. And that would also ensure that people who come to the online world, they feel safe and secure and trust is created. Without that, we cannot really hope to bring the last 40% of our population online. As I mentioned, today we have 83 crore people online, but we need to bring the last 50 crore people online as well. And that requires a very inclusive thought process, very inclusive template for all the efforts in digitization, for all the efforts in developing applications. Because for them, the challenge today, because of the huge number of online activities, challenge is to also ensure that they feel included, they feel trusted, and they feel safe when they come online. If their experience when they come online for the first time, if that is not good, then perhaps it will take even more effort to really bring them online. So that's the template that we have to have inclusive programs to bring all the people online. We have launched a massive program for digital literacy, which is called PMG Disha, Prime Minister's Gramin Digital Saksharta Abhiyan, which has trained already over 5 crore people. But obviously, the goal is to make the entire population digitally literate. And for that vision, we are using our common service centers to really ensure that they can take this message of digital to the villages where they are situated, where they are located, and reach every household with information, with knowledge of how they can use a smartphone or how they can come to the CSC for availing these services. So this entire idea of multi-channel delivery is also part of that vision, where we provide services to all the people through various channels, online, through mobile interface. You might be aware about the Umang platform, which actually is one single app to, cover almost all the domains. So you need to download only one app today. You don't need to download multiple apps or multiple departments or multiple sources. You can just download one app and avail nearly 2,000 services. So this is also part of that vision to provide multi-channel access to the services for their citizens. So all these schemes and all this entire roadmap that I just mentioned, I talked about, is all aimed at ensuring that we improve the ease of living and ease of access for the citizens. And if you really have been watching the way digital has transformed our lives, it's no exaggeration to say that today the ease with which we can access a wide range of services digitally is all because of the transformation that we have achieved through digital technologies over the last several years. So thank you so much for inviting me here and for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. This is such a wonderful, insightful deliberation and a lot of learning. And we are indeed proud of the fact that we are going through a time when we are the 10th rank holder amongst 190 plus countries when it comes to digitally transformed ranking that sir has talked about. There are many things that he has talked about, and perhaps at the end of the day we will have a set of summary points, recommendation points that we would like to share with all of you. Now I would like to get this small video, a movie, run as has been mentioned by Ms. Puri. Thank you.
डिजिटल इंडिया 21वीं सदी में सशक्त होते भारत का एक जयघोष है।
प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की दूरदर्शिता और जम्मू कश्मीर के उपराज्यपाल श्री मनोज सिन्हा जी के मार्गदर्शन में यूटी प्रशासन जनता को सभी नागरिक सेवाएं बिना किसी रुकावट और मुश्किल के उपलब्ध कराने के लिए वचनबद्ध है। इसके तहत अभी तक लगभग 180 नागरिक सेवाओं को ऑनलाइन माध्यम से उपलब्ध कराया गया है और आम जनता सुविधापूर्वक और सहूलत से इसका लाभ उठा रही है। जम्मू कश्मीर RAS यानी रैपिड असेसमेंट सिस्टम के तहत सेवाओं के डिजिटल फीडबैक का एकीकरण करने वाला पहला केंद्र शासित प्रदेश है।
पहली बार मैंने ई सर्विस यूज की और RAS यानी रैपिड असेसमेंट सिस्टम के द्वारा मुझे SMS आने शुरू हुए जिसे मुझे फीडबैक करने का मौका मिला। RAS के द्वारा यूजर अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस J&K यूटी गवर्नमेंट जो कि सर्विस प्रोवाइडर हैं उनके साथ साझा भी कर सकते हैं। जम्मू कश्मीर सरकार का एक बहुत ही सराहनीय कदम है।
आपका मोबाइल हमारा दफ्तर की नवीन पहल से उमंग के माध्यम से सभी सेवाएं 24 घंटे 7 दिन उपलब्ध हैं।
एक्चुअली इस भीड़ भाड़ के टाइम में सीनियर सिटीजन को बाहर निकलना बड़ा मुश्किल है, उनके लिए बाहर जाना मुश्किल है। तो मैंने उमंग ऐप के बारे में सुना जो कि J&K गवर्नमेंट ने लॉन्च करी है और मैंने उसके थ्रू जो है राशन कार्ड के लिए अप्लाई करा, जो घर बैठे में मुझे उपलब्ध हो गया। दिस इज ए ग्रेट अचीवमेंट ऑफ J&K गवर्नमेंट।
DARPG यानी प्रशासनिक सुधार और लोक शिकायत विभाग के मूल्यांकन में नेस्टा अर्थात नेशनल ई सर्विस डिलीवरी असेसमेंट रेटिंग में जम्मू और कश्मीर को राज्य पोर्टल और ई सेवाओं के वितरण में केंद्र शासित प्रदेशों में प्रथम स्थान हासिल हुआ है। ई ऑफिस के व्यापक प्रयोग से आज 300 से अधिक दफ्तरों में 96% फाइलें ई ऑफिस से निपटाई जा रही हैं और 400 करोड़ रुपए का वार्षिक खर्च बचता है। जम्मू कश्मीर के 44 गांवों को ऑनलाइन सुविधाएं देकर डिजिटल विलेज घोषित किया गया है। सीडैक के माध्यम से स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट टियर 3 स्टेट डेटा सेंटर बनाया गया है। जम्मू कश्मीर पहला केंद्र शासित प्रदेश है जहां MyGov इंस्टेंस शुरू किया गया है।
मुझे MyGov पोर्टल पे एक ऑनलाइन क्विज में पार्टिसिपेट करने का मौका मिला जहां मुझे एक ऑनलाइन सर्टिफिकेट भी मिला। मैं यहां अपने सुझाव गवर्नमेंट तक पहुंचा सका कि हम कैसे जम्मू कश्मीर को नशा मुक्त कर सकते हैं और मुझे ये जानकर काफ़ी गर्व महसूस होता है कि जम्मू कश्मीर गवर्नमेंट ने इतना अच्छा इनिशिएटिव स्टार्ट किया है कि हम जैसा हर आम आदमी अपनी आवाज़ गवर्नमेंट तक पहुंचा सकता है।
कर्मचारी प्रदर्शन प्रबंधन प्रणाली सभी कर्मचारियों के लिए अपनी तरह की पहली ऑनलाइन मासिक प्रदर्शन मूल्यांकन प्रणाली जम्मू कश्मीर में शुरू की गई है। डैशबोर्ड जम्मू और कश्मीर लॉन्च किया गया है, जो विभिन्न विभागों के प्रदर्शन का आकलन करने के लिए एक वास्तविक समय निगरानी का माध्यम है। ई किताब कोश की शुरुआत की गई है, जो कि एनी टाइम एनी डिवाइस एनीवेयर उपकरण ऑनलाइन लाइब्रेरी है, जो शिक्षण अनुगम सामग्री का डिजिटल भंडार है। जम्मू कश्मीर सभी नागरिकों को गुणवत्तापूर्ण ई सेवाएं और डिजिटल समावेशन प्रदान करने के लिए डिजिटल J&K के मिशन में तेजी से प्रगति कर रहा है।
Now I request our guest of honor, Sri Atal Dulloo, Financial Commissioner, Additional Chief Secretary, Agricultural Production Department, Duty of Jammu and Kashmir, to kindly deliver his guest address. I welcome you, sir.
Shri R.R. Bhatnagar ji, Honorable Advisor to Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Dr. Anil Malik, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Haryana, Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Srimati Prerna Puri, Athar Saab, distinguished participants, guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my privilege to be here amongst you and talking on the occasion of the Digital Transformation Conclave. We all know how information technology has changed our lives over the last 30 years. Why I am saying 30 years? Because 30 years ago, we were still struggling with punching keys, data cards, and the first computers in the country were available only in a few institutions. But now we see the kind of impact it has had on our lives, on our economy, on our ease of living, and the way in which we are able to make informed decisions. Previously, if we wanted to gather knowledge or some research work of some scientist, you had to actually go through so many journals, so many publications. First of all, establish access to those journals and publications. And then over a period of 1 year or 2 years, you would get that knowledge, get that idea, and you are able to use that knowledge. But all that knowledge is available at your fingertip, at the touch of a button, and you are able to make an informed decision. In fact, there is so much of information available that sometimes you wonder what to trust and what not to trust. Secondly, the pace of transformation is also increasing rapidly. The changes that we saw in the last 10 years, I expect the similar quantum of changes would take place in the next 2 years. And the same extent of changes may take place in the next 1 month or 2 months thereafter. I remember that around 12 years ago, I was Secretary IT in J&K government, and we were still struggling to establish a state data center and SWAN. Those are the two most important projects that we were handling. But now we talk about GSTN, we talk about CoWIN, we talk about so many other programs. Now, basically, what is digitization? Is digitization only for the sake of digitization? What are we looking at? If I have to explain it in one word, I would say it is problem solving. Digitization is basically identifying problems faced by the people and solving them. If we are not able to solve people's problems, then there will be no acceptability of IT initiatives or digitization by the people. But just because we have been able to and we are able to solve problems, that's why IT has been such a roaring success. 1 decade ago, could we imagine that our mobile phones would become our banks? We would do all our transactions through our mobiles. It was inconceivable. But this is something which is a reality today. In fact, I have to stress my mind to remember when I visited the bank last. We could not have imagined 1 decade ago that there would be DBT and thousands and lakhs of crores of rupees would be transferred to the accounts of individual persons under various schemes, whether it is Narega, whether it is PM Kisan, whether it is scholarships, whether it is pensions, and basically eliminating the requirement of so many officials, so many layers for processing releases and making payments in cash in those days to the people. We could not have imagined 1 decade ago that it would actually be unnecessary to travel to attend such a conference. COVID taught us that. The entire COVID management was done online. So many important decisions, so much of sharing of information, sharing of knowledge, it was available online. And lot of innovations in COVID management were undertaken using IT. We could not have imagined that most of the services of the government would be available online. Today, those days, maybe 1 or 2 services, maybe railway tickets or air tickets or a couple of more services were available, which you could use online and avail, and citizens could avail those facilities. But now almost all services are available online. In fact, people ask, if a service is not available online, why it is not? Why this organization or why this department is so backward, so such a laggard that they are not able to make this service online? And what do we see the future? How we can go ahead in the days to come? In the agriculture sector, I will talk about. There is already a plan to launch a digital agriculture mission using satellite information from ISRO, and this would use basically artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data analytics, robotics in management of agriculture. We are looking at precision farming. The farmer we have all the data, the soil health statistics, farmers data, weather data, GIS data, satellite data, market data, mandi data. All this is available online. If you are able to use this data properly, you will be able to achieve what is called precision farming. The farmer knows what to grow, when to harvest, how to use technology for interventions, what are required, how to take informed decisions, and how to earn a fair value, fair return on the investment that he is making. Similarly, Dr. Rajendra Kumar mentioned about the intervention being made in the health sector, the digital health mission. Now, gone are the days in the next few years, we will not be required to carry our medical records anywhere. And the doctor may not actually prescribe so many diagnostics. If you have already undergone a test maybe 1 month ago or 15 days ago, that would be available online. He will not insist on another test at that point of time. And all the data of healthcare providers, the patients, the doctors, the nurses, it will be available online. Taxation. GSTN has been a roaring success. And imagine if it is integrated with all the data of financial transactions, which are all happening digitally. So you have a trail of all the financial transactions which anybody undertakes. It's available. It's available for investigation. It is available for policy planning. It's available for many other things. Education sector. Who could have imagined, say 3 years ago or 4 years ago, that despite lockdown, schools would actually function, teaching would actually take place. and students would be taught at home. In fact, it gave us a new paradigm. Perhaps brick and mortar schools are not required. And this was possible only because of the digital revolution. In brief, I would like to mention that I will again come back to the same point. What are we looking at? We are looking at problem solving. And what will problem solving lead to? It will lead to innovation. It will lead to enterprise. And these are the keywords that we must focus on. In fact, the success of a conclave like this would be that if we are in our organizations, wherever we work, in government departments or in private sector organizations, if we are able to motivate the people who are working with us, our colleagues, that you identify one problem and find a solution to it, many opportunities will come forward. And this is the key. And obviously we know that digitization helps in developing fairness, accountability, transparency, and we will be able to achieve the government's objective, which is minimum government with maximum governance. I think if we focus on problem solving, the sky is the limit to find out opportunities for enterprise creation, for creating jobs, for ensuring growth of economy of the country. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. Minimum government, maximum governance, and that is where we are today, and that is how the digital transformation is understood and taken. Now I would like to request and invite our chief guest, Sri Rajiv Rai Bhatnagar. Yes. Sri Rajiv Rai Bhatnagar, advisor to the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, Jammu and Kashmir. I welcome you, sir, and thank you for joining us.
You see, all the static that we hear today would again be blamed not on the digital, but on the other methodology of soft working. So I think this is also an interesting thing that can come up. Once we go digital, a lot of the noise disappears. It doesn't appear at all. It is the analog which produces the noise. So I think this is one important thing that is being highlighted by itself. Shri Atal Dulloo, my colleague, the dignitaries on the dais and in the audience, it is indeed something that is so relevant, so important, and so pressing that this conclave that is here is going to be a significant contributor to the way we move ahead. As we have seen the digital revolution, like Dulloo Saab was pointing out, I still remember my days when we used to get a slot at 3:30 at night in the computer center, punch our cards, go to the card reader, and the computer center, the computers used to be almost as big as this hall. And look where we have come from that day and age today, where we have got so much of processing power right at our fingertips. It is one more point that I would like to make that is, I think, not made very often is that the digital revolution have saved us so much of physical assets. It has saved us space. It has saved us paper. If you were to look at photography, the amount of the films that we have saved, if you were to look at even medical science, if you were to look at our emails, the amount of paper that we have saved. So the whole digital revolution is also very good for the environment. There are a lot of physical resources which we have saved in great abundance. Connectivity used to be a constraint, but as has just been pointed out, great strides have been made, and in the times to come, that is something that would reach almost the last person on this planet. So that is the kind of progress that is being made there. In terms of teaching people, the question was said that about 60 crore people are digitally connected, and we are now looking at connecting the rest of them. So I think this is another task that we could take up. Each one of us are influential people. We have our own sphere of work. If we decide that we will try to include at least two more persons individually into the digital realm, then we would be able to cover almost whole of the population that is there. The digital world gives us immense opportunities. We have seen that delivery of services is so much more timely, with integrity, with convenience, and also it gives us the opportunity of feedback and correction, which is something that is very essential if we want to have any kind of improvement, any kind of process engineering, re-engineering that we want to do. We want to change the way we do things. Another thing that I would like to emphasize at this point is that whenever we have an MIS, whenever we go digital, the amount of immense potential that this technology offers in terms of process re-engineering needs to be really capitalized on. There is no point in just digitalizing what we have been doing manually for so long, because then a lot of the benefits of the whole exercise are totally lost. If we were to look at the other aspects, which was also pointed out, something that is a cause of worry today, and that is the cyber security network. We have to understand that as we used to protect our other valuable things, data today is a very, very valuable thing, and we have to go to the same efforts, the same kind of regimen, the same kind of, systems, the same kind of methodology, being very careful about the data that we have, about the privacy of data, about the data that we hold, which is actually somebody else's data, which he has given us in trust. So we have to design systems which are able to safeguard the trust that he has put in us by giving us that data. Even in terms of national security, it is very vital that we pay adequate attention to cyber security and also the measures that are recommended often to us to make sure that our systems remain secure. In terms of the health, I was told that a new initiative is being taken and the pilots have already been done, and we would soon be having a digital repository of all the health records of the people who are participating. Through the Arog Setu app, one can register with a certain registration number, and then a lot of the health records that are available in diverse spheres would be available to that person with an adequate amount of security. Digital transformation has really given us the confidence, and we have also been able to win the confidence of the users, of the common man. And it is going to be easier as the new generation kicks in. I still remember the first time when we used to develop an MIS, and we used to find people who just had about 3-4 years to retirement, and we used to ask them that please follow this, do this. They used to be extremely reluctant, very, very reluctant, and we really had to make a huge effort to get them on board. कि नहीं करके तो देखो एक बार, अच्छा लगेगा, आसान रहेगा, तुम्हारा काम आसान हो जाएगा. And the good thing is that we were able to get almost everybody to cross the line. And I'm sure that problem is now much less. It is our ability to be able to build up the robust systems which are safe, secure, fast, and easily accessible. And I'm sure this conclave will go a long way in making our efforts more fruitful. All the best to the organizers as well as the participants. I'm sure you will come up with very useful suggestions as well as solutions. Thank you so much. Good day.
Thank you so very much, sir. And now with this, we are almost at the end of this session, but it cannot be concluded unless we hear Athar Amir Khan, Commissioner, Srinagar Municipal Corporation and CEO, Srinagar Smart City Limited, unless we hear from him. And I would request Mr. Amir Khan to come and share his thoughts and extend the vote of thanks, formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and honor to extend heartfelt gratitude and vote of thanks to our worthy chief guest, Shri Rajiv Rai Bhatnagar sir, the advisor to Honorable Lieutenant Governor J&K. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Shri Atal Dulloo, Additional Chief Secretary, Agriculture Production Department, Union Territory of J&K. I would also like to thank Shri Vivek